Those shadows are not mysterious at all when you stop pretending life is supposed to make sense in real time. They are built from moments that did not break you, but changed how you stand in a room. Every time someone smiled while planning to use you, that shadow formed. Every time you trusted words and ignored behavior, another one followed you home. Every time you felt something was off, but talked yourself out of it to keep peace, it stayed with you. You did not study these lessons. You absorbed them while trying to survive emotionally, socially, mentally. No one sat you down and explained how toxic people operate, how bad environments slowly drain you, or how being too available invites disrespect. You learned by paying the cost. You learned by feeling small after being generous. You learned by noticing how certain people only showed up when you were useful. These shadows are not fear. They are memory that learned faster than language. They are your body remembering tension before your mind catches up. They are why you hesitate now, where you used to rush. Why you listen longer before you speak. Why compliments no longer hypnotize you. People call it being guarded, but what they are really reacting to is that you no longer walk blind. You carry quiet proof now, and proof changes how you move. Hardship teaches in a way comfort never does. When life keeps going wrong in the same way with different faces, the lesson stops being emotional and starts becoming practical. You stop asking why someone disrespected you and start noticing when it happens. You stop trying to fix people who enjoy staying broken. You stop confusing intensity with connection. You learn that some people only feel powerful when you feel unsure. You learn that environments do not need to scream to be toxic. They only need to make you doubt yourself consistently. These realizations do not arrive as confidence. They arrive as caution. And caution looks cold to people who benefited from your warmth. When you pull back, they accuse you of changing. When you stop explaining, they accuse you of hiding something. When you stop reacting, they feel exposed. The shadow is simply this. You remember what happened last time. You remember the cost, and you refuse to pretend you do not. That refusal is not bitterness. It is survival refined into awareness. When you are feeling down, those shadows are often the only thing keeping you steady. They remind you that not every low point is a failure. Sometimes it is just distance from people or places that were quietly harming you. They remind you that exhaustion can come from tolerating too much, not doing too little. They remind you that your sadness is not always internal. Sometimes it is environmental. Sometimes it is relational. When you remember how many times you stayed where you should have left, or explained yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you, the shadow steps in like a silent warning. It tells you to slow down. It tells you not to beg for clarity from people who profit from confusion. It tells you not to confuse loneliness with loss. Most people numb themselves when they feel down. You start noticing patterns instead. That is the difference. The shadow does not comfort you. It stabilizes you. It keeps you from repeating old mistakes when your energy is low and your defenses are open. People who undermine you hate these shadows the most. not because they are aggressive, but because they are quiet. You no longer react the way they expect. You no longer over-explain or chase approval. You let disrespect land without scrambling to fix it. That silence feels threatening to someone who relies on your emotional labor to feel important. When you used to engage, they controlled the pace. Now the pace belongs to you. That shift feels unfair to them. They try to provoke reactions, question your motives, or paint you as distant. What they are really doing is searching for the old version of you that did not recognize patterns. The shadow prevents that version from coming back. It stands between you and unnecessary conflict. It reminds you that not every challenge deserves your energy. Not every comment deserves a response. Not every relationship deserves access to you. This is not growth that announces itself. It is growth that withdraws. The world quietly rewards those who fit into this pattern and quietly punishes those who do not. The reward looks like access, stability, and surface-level acceptance. The punishment looks like isolation, gossip, and resistance. You rarely see it announced. It shows up as fewer opportunities, colder responses, and subtle disrespect. People who adapt learn how to survive in bad environments by shrinking their truth. People who do not adapt often feel like everything pushes back against them. Neither outcome feels fair, but the world is not built around fairness. It is built around predictability. And predictability comes from people behaving in ways that do not disrupt the existing order. The personal cost of staying blind to this is heavy. You start feeling tired, even when nothing dramatic is happening. You feel resentment toward people who never asked you to sacrifice, but benefited from it anyway. You notice a gap between who you are alone and who you are around others. Over time, that gap grows. You stop trusting your instincts because ignoring them became normal. When you feel down, you assume something is wrong with you, instead of noticing how often you are surrounded by draining situations. You begin to feel invisible, not because no one sees you, but because you rarely show up fully anymore. This is how people lose confidence without a single major failure. Awareness begins when you recognize patterns instead of stories. You stop asking why someone treats you badly and start noticing when it happens. You notice who respects your boundaries and who reacts to them with anger. You notice which environments leave you calm and which leave you tense. This is not insight or wisdom. It is recognition. You stop romanticizing struggle and start observing cause and effect. You see that toxic behavior often escalates when it is tolerated. You see that people who benefit from your silence rarely thank you for it. Awareness does not fix anything instantly. It simply removes confusion. And confusion is what kept you stuck. Once this recognition sets in, two paths open quietly. One path keeps you where you are, hoping things change, adjusting yourself again and again. The other path changes how you respond. You speak less, not because you are afraid, but because you choose where your energy goes. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You leave environments that require you to betray yourself to belong. This path does not feel dramatic. It feels lonely at first, but it also feels lighter. The pressure to perform fades. The need to prove yourself weakens. You start respecting your own reactions instead of dismissing them. There is a reason the line, "People show you who they are," keeps surviving through generations. It lasts because it is simple and accurate. People reveal themselves through patterns, not promises. Through behavior, not words. Once you stop arguing with what you see, things become clearer. You stop expecting fairness from people who thrive on imbalance. You stop expecting care from people who only offer it when it benefits them. This does not make you bitter. It makes you grounded. He is sitting in a small prison cell, light cutting through iron bars, scratching words into paper while the world outside keeps moving without him. Marcus Aurelius does not look angry. He looks tired in a way that only comes from watching people too closely. What unsettles him is not betrayal or exile. It is how predictable everything has been. Friends who praised him disappeared when power shifted. Advisors who swore loyalty adjusted their tone overnight. People who needed him spoke softly. People who feared him spoke carefully. In that quiet space, he notices something uncomfortable. Most people are not cruel. They are convenient. They follow whatever feels safest in the moment and call it principle afterward. He realizes that the pain does not come from what people do. It comes from expecting them to be different when pressure shows up. He does not explain this to himself yet. He just sits with the feeling that the world keeps revealing the same pattern through different faces, and anyone who pays attention long enough starts to feel strangely alone. That same pattern shows up in everyday life without needing emperors or prisons. You see it when someone is kind to you while you are useful, then distant when you stop giving. You see it when people suddenly become cold the moment you set a boundary. You see it in workplaces where praise flows easily until you stop agreeing with everything. It appears in families where support comes with conditions that are never spoken out loud. The pattern is simple. People respond to what they can get, what they fear losing, and what keeps their position stable. When those things change,